This content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. The Better Traders is not a broker dealer. We are not an investment advisor. We have no access to non public information about publicly traded companies or cryptocurrencies. And this is not a place for the giving or receiving of financial advice, advice concerning investment decisions, or tax or legal advice. The value of investments and the income derived from them can go down as well as up. Investors may not get back the amount they invested, and past performance is not a guide to future performance. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Moon Papa, and you're watching my weekly live stream here on YouTube. So, for all of you that are new to this, hello, welcome. I'm going to be talking primarily about Bitcoin today, mainly because it's a hot topic. A lot has happened to BTC on the charts, especially this week. So some of you may be wondering, okay, how does this dump in price affect the prediction that I have and the whole model I have about going sideways for the rest of this month up until the end of this month and even into next month, possibly. We're going to get to all of that. But before we do, I just want to remind you that I have a live stream every single week here on YouTube. If you want to check out the next live stream, go ahead and hit notify me and you'll get pinged when it starts. So it's every single week at 11 a.m. Japan Standard Time on Thursdays, which means that this is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this would be 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in regards to North America. So I'm sorry, I can't convert it to anywhere else. People that are in Southeast Asia, like I am, or in Australia, this is like your morning time. So there you go. I just covered everybody. Okay, so let's jump right to the charts. So over here on, oh, and I can pop this back up again. Pop. So over here on the chart, I just want to go over a couple of things for Bitcoin's chart because, like I said in the intro, I think that a lot of you are probably wondering about what's happening and how does this change things, and if it does. So a couple of things to notice that a drop like we saw this week, basically 2 days ago, was definitely not fun. I'll just say it that way. Experiencing drops like that, testing and breaking almost below our support. Well, technically we did. Here on Bitstamp, the low that we have right here is what, 18,595 on June 30th. And the low that we saw yesterday was 18,540. So we did see a drop that was very much lower than the previous one, which means that technically our support has been broken. Is it? This is something that a lot of traders get mixed up about, and I want to clarify now. In order for us to say it's confirmed broken, whether it's to the upside or the downside, we really do have to wait an amount of time. So just drawing our lines like this, going across and seeing that we have wicked on the daily time frame below it doesn't constitute as breaking below it. Wicking into it does matter though, because that's a puncture, it's a test. So could we still go lower? Yeah, we could, but we've punctured it and we've closed the day up. So it's normal to see that. You can see here after falling for a couple of days, we go up and then it's down and then we kind of go sideways. You can see it also here. We close up a little bit, go sideways and down. Now, obviously, I'm hoping that we are not going to see that type of continuation. So in order to see this better, I need to bring up my resistance fan to help illustrate the point. So a couple of things that I see in regards to price action and support and all that stuff. For one, we didn't close below this resistance. We didn't get close down here to our 17.5 range, where the low here is 17,592. So what I think is that we're doing exactly what we're supposed to, well, at least what I've expected Bitcoin to do, which is to go sideways, to range sideways for quite a while. I've been sharing a lot of updates for people that are in the Better Traders Club Discord server about this, and I've also been doing updates about this on YouTube talking about it, but I just need to reinforce what a sideways market looks like, and we are right on track. So this is the point in the chart where bears start to pile in their shorts. So could we break below? Yes, we could. But my argument is that if we don't close below 18,500, which to me, this is my make or break price. Because if we break below here and close below here, confirm close and continue, then yes, we're actually going to be heading lower, which invalidates my theory about going sideways until the end of September this month, or even the end of October. So it invalidates a lot of stuff. So it's a possibility. So let me explain why I think that while it's a possibility, there's still lots of really great things that are happening on longer time frames. Daily time frame for some of you, is a long time frame, but in reality, it's really not that long. Let me come over here to the daily time frame, and I'm just going to show you that we have. Let me change this. RSI is actually growing, and it's going in an uptrend. We actually have bullish divergence right now. Bullish divergence is essentially when we have opposing factors. So price is moving lower. RSI is moving higher. This is a divergence. They're not moving in the same way. That would be convergence. This is divergence, where one's going down, the other's going up. And it's bullish because RSI is rising, but the price is falling. So this is something that a lot of traders won't pick up on. They're just going to look at the trend, which rightfully so. And as a trend trader, it is hard to ignore the strength of the trend right now. But looking at RSI, looking at other factors, this is pretty strong. So a couple of, I'm not going to say bullish points, but I'm just going to say a couple of points that I want to bring up in regards to this being a line of support. And then I'll look at the bearish scenario next. So the arguments for bullish support, or rather, I'll just say support, not bullish, because that's going to taint your bias. So RSI is growing. That is a good sign. So it's kind of hard to ignore that. If we look at volume on the daily time frame, of course it's going to be big because it cracked below support. We can even clearly see it here on the TBO. So volume has shot up, and it hasn't shot up this high since July 8th. And if we zoom out even more, so the amount of volume we saw 2 days ago actually rivals what we saw back in June. It's as much as we saw right here. So it's really interesting to see that volume is growing week over week. Again, not necessarily bullish or bearish. It does depend on what the price is doing. So seeing the volume steadily growing week over week, to me, is bullish, even though the price isn't reflecting it yet. RSI on the weekly time frame looks bullish to me. It's here we go. Oh, that's the daily. So looking at this, we can see that, yes, it's tested, but it's still growing. It's still above 25. If we are to close below 18.5 and keep dropping, this will fall below, and then it'll drop a lot further, which would push RSI probably down here to 20 at least, or the high teens. That's at least my opinion in that. So let's go back to the other chart and go to the daily time frame, because I have more trend lines drawn in here. So looking at RSI, yes, there's bullish divergence there. Great. Looking at price action alone, no TBO. We can see that the prices come down here. It's bounced a little bit, but it's not really bullish yet. What would have made this more bullish is if this was a bullish engulfing candle, whereas the green candle went up higher and the close of the candle was up here. If we had the close anywhere higher than this line right there, it would have been extremely bullish, and that would turn things around a lot for BTC. But obviously it hasn't yet. It didn't do that on this candle. So here's a bullish engulfing candle. It wasn't enough though to keep the momentum going. So here's another one, by the way. This is a perfect one. This is like the kind of thing where if we see this happen, this is a clear start of an uptrend. This is a really good sign. We're not seeing that yet. So as far as price action goes, we're still above support. If I go over here and I bring my support and resistances out, I just shared this in the Better Traders Club, and I won't go crazy into sharing every single thing. But, oh, actually, just do this. We do have a lot of lines of support right now. I just have to hide some because it's going to be confusing. So just give me a second, okay? Oh, there. Hide. Cool. Go to the daily. Great. So we have several points of support and resistance. For one, this 19666 is drawn all the way back here, further back, in 2017. That was the high. That's where BTC, at least on Bitstamp, topped out. So this is a point of resistance or support. Note here, back in November and December 2020, it hit and it was rejected before it moved up higher. So now we're on the flip side. Now we're on the flip side, as in the price has cracked below. It's bounced off support, but now it's gone below. So it was once support, now it's resistance. This is the first test. So our weaker short-term support line is drawn from this wick to this previous wick over here. So essentially it's a horizontal support, but it's not that strong. The next line of support I want to show is from this rejection here to this wick, which is this red line right here. So we have this red line at, I have to zoom in a lot to see it, is at essentially 17,600. And then of course we have this green line, which is drawn from our mid-market bull run back here in June 2019 to our wick, and that's giving us our green line. So that's what all of these different lines are drawn from. Now what they mean is that there are still many layers of support. But again, if we crack below 18.5, I'm not going to feel too good about things anymore. And I'm going to change my trading approach a lot more. So right now, things are okay-ish. As far as price action goes. If we were to take away all the fancy lines of the resistance fan and support and resistance and this trend line, which I'm going to put in here, and just look at the TBO, there are a couple of things to note. For one, almost all the lines of the TBO are pointing down. 1, 2, 3 lines are, but this slow line is still kind of pointing up. It's flattening out though. It'll eventually get dragged down. One thing to keep in mind though about this fast line is that this is the faster moving EMA. So when the price shoots up, it's going to either be, well, it's going to start to stabilize, it'll start to flatten out, or if the price falls down, it's going to be dragged down much more dramatically, like we can see here. But as soon as the price starts to come up, it starts to cool off. And eventually what I'm trying to say is that the price will meet this moving average right here, the fast line of the TBO. It's currently sitting at 25,488 on the weekly. On the daily time frame, it's a lot closer, which makes sense. So it makes sense after having such a big fall, looking at our top to our drop, about 26%, it makes more sense for me in my mind to see a move up to touch here first before figuring out. But keep in mind all of our supports. If we go above 20K, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with dipping below and coming back up. But what happens next, I don't know. I am still in the favor, or in the camp rather, of moving sideways. And now I want to go back in time to show you what that looks like. So here in 2018, we can see even without the TBO, the price falls, finds support, falls again, and it goes sideways for a long time. Slow uptrend, but not a big increase in value, really. This is only, what, 21% over 7 weeks? It's nothing. And if we look at this on the daily time frame, this is pretty brutal. I mean, it's just doing a whole lot of grinding down, moves up a little bit, but then it falls down and it's grinding. So nothing really exciting there. If we go even further back here to 2015 and 14, oh, excuse me, 2015 is right. We make a full move up and a full retrace down. I want to say that again. We made a full move up and then it completely retraced down. And then after that, about 7 weeks later, it did a full move up, went higher, did a full retrace down. 2015 was the most brutal bear market for BTC holders and traders. But when Bitcoin goes sideways like this, it presents a lot of opportunities to grab some alts and to trade up your BTC stack. But as soon as Bitcoin starts on its run, especially on the weekly time frame, especially when all the lines are pointing up, that's when you pay attention to BTC and you do not trade against it. We are not there right now. So another thing I want to point out too is in regards to the TBO. Check it out. So we have the cloud going gray here, which shows that a trend change should be coming. And now it turns gray, but it's red right there. See it? So the fact is that it's red, or pink really, but for a really short time, only 8 weeks is it pink. So comparing that to where we are right now, I found this interesting. So right now we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Sorry, 4 weeks. Let me see. Pop, there we go. So 4 weeks of red. And over here we said, how much time did it take? It was approximately, I think, here we go. Boom. It was 8 weeks until it turned from red to gray. So it'll take a lot. So that brings me to say, well, what do I think is happening? Well, I think we're actually seeing, and this isn't 2014. That's my bad. This is 2015. So this bars pattern is taken from 2015, bar per bar, not extended, not anything, and it's just put here. So right now we're looking at this. Let me actually make this a little bit brighter so you can see it and make it yellow. So it's amazing because right now we're on track with what happened in 2014, where it moved up, it rallied, it fell down. It went sideways for a little bit, it moved up and it rallied and it fell down, and then it moved up. Now this timeline is way outside of what I'm thinking. Personally, I don't think it's going to take this long to get out. I'm more of the, let me get rid of this. I'm more of the mindset that we're going to see a repeat of, not 2014, of 2018, where it's going to be shorter. And that's mainly because every single bear market, as far as the price of Bitcoin being below the cloud, it's been shorter. So looking at performance of 2014, it was 23 bars below the cloud. 2018 is 19 bars below the cloud. So if we're reducing it by 4, then we're looking at 15 weeks below the cloud. So that would put us, 15 weeks would put us in potentially here. So the week of September 19th, which is essentially in about 2 weeks. So there's a possibility that 2 weeks, if we're seeing this pattern play out, where we're reducing the amount of time below the cloud, and we're reducing it by 4 weeks. So you go 4 bars. So that means this is 4 bars or 4 weeks. Then it's possible, again, if. It's a big, 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 big if. But we could see it play out. So let's put the 2015 bars pattern in. So this won't match it out because this is a longer, more drawn out bear market. But if we look at 2018, this could actually play into it well. If the TBO fast line continues to move down, check out where it is right here. So if the fast line comes down and we see a burst in price action, if we see a burst in price action for Bitcoin, it will go into the cloud. It could still go sideways, and I still think it's going to go sideways for a while. But I think it's interesting, and I made this point last time why I think it's such a big deal, because looking back at 2018 and 2014 and 15, when the price goes into the cloud, that typically has the potential to start and launch us into at least a mid-cycle rally. And that's what I'm banking on. So that's what I'm looking at as far as our decisions moving forward. So on the bearish side of things, let's talk about what's happening right now, because 2014 and 15 and 2018, while there were some parallels in the SPX to where we are right now, it's obviously a different market. 2015, shortly after 2015 and later that year, S&P fell. Actually, it fell 14% or so, fell 300 points. and then it rallied up higher. If we look at 2018, this actually works out really well with BTC topping out in late December. Or here we go, late December 2017. Market moves up higher and it falls, takes a little bit of time, and then it really starts to fall here and loses its support by late December. And this is where the market starts to recover, although Bitcoin went sideways for quite a while. But it's hard to ignore the fact that where we are right now is a completely different place. There are energy issues in Europe. The dollar is way too strong and it's destroying other currencies. We're in the middle of we're seeing a war play out. So while it's helpful to look at BTC, it's also important to keep track of what's happening with the S&P and the Dixie, which we're going to take a little bit of a look at these two, but I spent way more time talking about this in this week's live stream for the Better Traders Club, which I'll talk about in a second. So let's just take a second to look at the S&P. This is another reason why I'm feeling good-ish. These support lines right here for the S&P, so far it's holding. I don't care that it's punctured. I don't care that it's done this. This doesn't invalidate anything to me. So this to me, even though we're seeing today a TBO open short on the daily time frame, this is actually pretty good. It depends on what's going to happen. It's still not looking strong, to be honest. But if we're looking at RSI on the daily time frame, you all know from following me for a long time that I look at when RSI crosses up 25. When I see RSI crossing up 25 on longer time frames, that to me is a decent entry. We can see it happening here 2 times, 1 and 2 right there. And both of these entries would have netted a really handsome return back in June. So we're seeing something really similar where there's a sharp buyback. Now, it doesn't mean that everything is rosy, and we've seen this also happen in the past where the market doesn't really move up that much higher. Keep in mind this is the S&P, and it's an index rather than a chart, but it's still, we can use the RSI. I'm not trying to invalidate its usefulness, but I'm trying to also bring it into perspective. So let's take a look at Fib lines. Fibonacci lines are fantastic as a way to plot where there might be future support and resistance. And this worked out beautifully, where it capped out at the 618 and it found support here, exactly wicking in. Look at the low, 388675, 388672. I talked about all this stuff in the Smarter Trader course and why this is so fun and useful. This is honestly, though, the last line of support on the Fib lines before we retrace back to zero. This green line of support, what we're seeing happening with Bitcoin is directly correlated here in the S&P. So seeing a big green day for the S&P at 1.8%, but that's actually big for the S&P, is good for Bitcoin, but it's not enough. What we would need to see are 2 things. One would be rising S&P to test out this wedge that I've drawn here. So we do have a bottom here. Could it come back down? And again, if it breaks below this, S&P's falling, Bitcoin's falling, everything's falling, and it's going to fall a lot further. But if this is actually going to hold and S&P is going to close up higher and make its way back up here to test at 4,200, that would change my mind, a lot of other people's minds. But still, we have a nice long overhead trend to check out and watch. The Dixie, or the US dollar currency index, I've been watching this, believe me, like a hawk. So one thing that's positive about this is that while it continues to roar higher, and again, this is why I like the TBO, because when I see on the daily time frame that all 4 of these lines are pointing up like this means that whatever it is, it's in a strong uptrend. It's hard to argue with it. So I am stating that the Dixie is very much bullish, and it's going to take a lot to stop it. But looking at more factors, as I've learned from Gareth Soloway, who's a fantastic trader, looking at multiple factors is good. So seeing RSI on the daily, we're actually seeing it start to cool off a little bit, just a little bit.
reaching overbought values and falling down a lot yesterday with a high at 82.99, and yesterday it closed at 61. Now this is just a reset. It's done this so many times before and it continues to move higher. I get that. But when we look at the weekly time frame, there's something bigger cooking, and this is what I am more excited about, to be honest. So I posted this on my Twitter, and what I talked about is this idea of a shooting star, and I shared this in my public Discord server and also in the club, talking about the importance of watching this on the daily time frame. We did have a shooting star right here, a perfect one, but of course the Dixie moved up higher. But as far as the weekly time frame is concerned, there's still a possibility for a shooting star, and it's the easy way to describe a shooting star is like this, where we have the candle, there's little to no lower wick, and the upper wick is more than 50% of the long body here of the entire measurement. So this one is more than 50%, therefore it's a shooting star, and that means that the price falls down. We also have to see the price moving up before then to validate this as a shooting star. So we had one on the daily time frame. It got invalidated right there, even though it's beautiful and perfect. But here on the weekly, there's a chance, just like in Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance? This is the chance. So what I'm talking about is if the Dixie, the DXY, closes below its open at 109.609, which you can see right there, or the low, which is 109.378. So if we close below the open, even just a little bit, it will be a spinning top. It will be a doji. It will show a lot of uncertainty in the direction of the trend, even though the TBO is strong. But this is what I'm paying a lot of attention to, because RSI is reaching its resistance point right now. If we see the Dixie cool off and fall just a little bit, again, it has to close at or below 109.609. If that happens, it's a doji and it's a shooting star. And that means that we should see a pullback in the Dixie. And if we see that, then you better believe that Bitcoin's going to move up higher. And keep in mind, if the Dixie falls, that means that Bitcoin has the potential to make another rally up higher, which would validate my theory of a sideways market where we're going to see ups and downs. A lot of stuff, though, is hinged on Dixie right now. That's what the S&P is driven by, and Bitcoin is driven by the S&P and influenced by the Dixie as well. So we got to keep that in mind, that as much as I love the idea of Bitcoin moving sideways, if the Dixie does prove to be bullish and continue moving up higher, it's going to take everything. So we're at this inflection point on the S&P with those trend lines. We're at support right now for Bitcoin, and it really is all up to the DXY. So if the DXY can fall down and the dollar weakens, then Bitcoin will have a relief rally up. If that does happen, one thing to note is that there will be a clear double bottom. So getting a double bottom, actually, let me draw a nice big butt right there. Yeah. So we get a double bottom right here, and it's confirmed here, and move up higher. That will give more conviction to investors and traders to see on the chart double bottom, which is a really basic chart pattern to know. A lot of people will be talking about a double bottom formation, which would be great. And this would totally change the idea, and it would provide more strength at this 20K range, and it would validate my theory about staying above 20K or at that 20K range and going sideways and waiting for that push up higher. So again, a falling DXY could provide that push up higher to push us into the cloud. It still means we could still go sideways, but it looks good. One more thing that we could see happen too over time. And again, this is just simple trend line drawing. This is not something difficult to do. If, it's all hinged on if we see RSI, let me do this. If we see the Dixie fall and the resistance right here, this line coming down, this is our first plot. Think about it. If the Dixie falls, S&P will rise, Bitcoin will rise. It only has to move up 16% for it to do one of two things: to test the TBO resistance here at 22,600 and this short-term resistance line. So there are 2 points to watch. Yeah, that is disgusting. Looks like a squished butt. Yuck. So it's not like we're going to go up right away. I want to make that super clear that I'm not saying this is it. We're going to move up to an amazing degree. I do think we'll have a mid-cycle rally. And again, I'm not just focusing on Bitcoin. I'm looking at the S&P. I'm looking at the Dixie. So there's a lot happening. But this is something that it's hard to not, to not get a little bit excited about. I'm not overly optimistic, but I'm still holding to my prediction that we're going to stay moving sideways. Now, this is crazy. So one thing to keep in mind about all of this is that I've been posting a lot of videos about bot trading, about A/B trading, all that stuff. This is the time to be stacking sats, to be trading against Bitcoin, because while Bitcoin's going sideways, a lot of charts are being obviously affected by negative price action, but there's still a lot of charts out there that are pumping, that are making big moves, that are creating great opportunities for DCA bots. My bots had a great day yesterday. I woke up to way more profit than usual because of all of the negative price action and a recovery, because that's the beauty of DCA. So even though the markets are a little scary right now, and I'll admit that they are a little bit frightening, and it's not like a super confident market, just because it's a little bit scary and the price falls down doesn't mean that your bots can't handle that, because they are built, long bots and short bots, they're built for negative price action, negative in relation to the direction of the bot. So I'm talking mostly about long bots, and the only short bots I have running right now are for the TBO switch. And amazingly, one of my my Ethereum TBO switch bot, the long bot, opened a long position overnight while I was sleeping, and I woke up to it being up 7% on 5 times leverage. So that's a nice feeling, right? So let me take a second, because I'm over time just a little bit, just to read through the comments to see if there are any questions or any requests and stuff like that. Cool. So I addressed your comments, MA63. As far as like everything depends on current events, and the current events are crazy. No doubt, yes. Let's see. Chris Keen, any thoughts on Solana's current move up? Let's see. I haven't checked. Well, I've been charting Solana, but I don't know about its current move up. I don't really see one personally. Let me go to TradingView. Okay, so looking at Solana on the weekly, well, this is actually similar to BTC. Let me get rid of a couple of these lines. So it does have a double bottom. So this is actually a fantastic double bottom for Solana, right here, and then right here. And I'm not basing the bottom off of this lower wick, because that was a panic wick. But check out the close for the weekly. This is actually really, really good. So the close right here is what, 30, and the open would be 30. The close for the weekly here is 30, and the open's 30. I mean, you don't see double bottoms this good. So that's a pretty good chart to bring up, Chris Keen. So my thoughts on the chart is I missed out on getting into the double bottom, but one thing that's I'm not really excited about is all of the issues that Solana's having. So that's more of a fundamentals aspect. In regards to the TBO on faster time frames, let's see. It doesn't look mega strong, like on the daily time frame. Yes, it's come down to support, but it's also done this before too. One thing that would change my mind is to see the price stabilize and move up higher back into the cloud, to see more gray. But the closer that this slow line comes down to the price, the faster the reversal is going to be for Solana. One other thing that one reason why I'm not paying much attention to Solana right now is because of the upcoming Ethereum merge. So if the Ethereum merge is successful, it will put pressure on Solana, and it might maybe make some investors less inclined to use Solana and Dot. So it's things that like that, or not Dot, like Avalanche, and I'm losing the word. Matic. That's the one I was looking for. So it's a great double bottom. It's a really good setup, but you'll want to play it safe. It depends. So as far as like how you feel about it, well, what are my thoughts on it? I think it's a double bottom. I think that it's still stuck on the lower side of the bottom. I'd feel better about it if it moved up to, you're not looking at my screen right now, but it's okay, to this range of like 43 or so. If it could move up just a bit higher, I would feel more confident in it. But so far it's a little bit like it's not super duper strong yet. It's a lot of sideways movement. So there you go. Vincent asks, did I go to school for music? Yes, I did. What kind of class do I teach? Music. Wasim, where can I get the bots you're using? On 3 commas. I don't have it set up. I was going to show it, but I'm using all the videos on my channel pretty much show me using 3 commas exclusively, just because it's the bot platform that I've been using since February 2018, and I've had a lot of success using it. There are free signals like the TBT signals to start your DCA bots for you, so that way it's automated. Yeah. And Robert says, build sats with DCA smart trades on other coins. Done. Yeah. But again, looking back at the chart for Bitcoin on, let me go to this. I just got to reinforce this because this is really what wrecked me back here. Because I thought, well, I'm going to stack sats too. But as soon as Bitcoin makes its epic move up higher, even if it's mid-cycle rally, it's going to trash all of your altcoins. I made a video about this a while ago about how to 100x your portfolio or something like that. I talk about this. Same thing back here. As soon as Bitcoin's bullish on the weekly, don't trade against it. Just ride it and stay in stable coins, or rather stablecoin trading pairs for your tokens. Okay, and that's going to be the smartest move there. So just be careful. Thoughts on Matic? It's really similar to Solana, like I said before, where Matic is just kind of, it's had its nice reversal, but as you can see here on, let me go to this instead. So it's actually done a really good job. It's kind of holding, but I don't like the fact that it's weakening. And again, a lot of eyes are on Ethereum right now. So I think it's a good competitor, but if Ethereum is really successful and people are really into it, then Matic is going to be directly affected by that because they're a layer 2 provider. So yeah, I know there's a lot of other ones coming in, but I got to stop it because I'm already like 8 minutes over. But I see those charts. I'll look at them and I'll think about checking them out next time. Yeah, Luna Classic has been moving up like crazy, which is so surprising. So just a reminder that the Better Traders Club has a ton of stuff happening in it. I mean, I'm posting updates nearly every day, and there's lots of stuff happening. Like this is what I woke up to this morning. It's good to see lots of green after buying the dip for a lot of this stuff. And we've been seeing more of these TBD signals, which are the better dip signals, letting us know that, you know, when we get a cluster of these, this is a good sign. So that way we can at least consider buying for a quick move, or at least for DCing into it. So if you want to know more about the Better Traders Club, head on over to thebettertraders.com, hit the club tab. Why is this always so small? There we go. And then you can learn more about it. There's a ton of stuff in it, like the DCA backtester, bi-monthly, as in every other week live streams, and watch lists from me, curated DCA bots from me, the TBT forecaster, TBD signals. There's a ton of stuff. So if you want to know more, check out the Better Traders Club. And yeah, so again, it's great hanging out with everybody. I really appreciate you being with me today. So I'm hitting the wrong button right now, or I'm lost. I'm completely lost in my buttons. There we go. Okay, so it's fun to do this, but it's also like disorienting. Okay, so Anyway, so until the next time, you know what to do. Stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.